Alright, in today's video, we are going to perform an installation of SQL Server 2022 preview on Oracle Linux version 8. So Microsoft has provided a public preview for SQL Server 2022, and we would like to perform installation and try to get familiar with some of its new features. And let's do a Google search first. So the Google search, let's see, we're gonna search SQL Server 2002 on Linux. So it brought up two pages. One is release notes as installation guide. Let's take a look at the installation guide, okay? So installation guide for 2022 on Linux version 16. And here it noticed they only support Red Hat and Ubuntu at this moment. Let's not talk about Docker. And it used to have another one, but it's unsupported anymore. Let's see. Oh yeah, here it is. SUSE Linux is not supported anymore. Okay, so that is a big change. And for the Red Hat and Ubuntu, the supported it is 8.1 for Red Hat to 8.5. Ubuntu is 20.04. So let's continue with some system requirement, 2 gig, so on and so forth. And let's see, then the installation. Okay, so we can go through this installation process. And let's click on this one for the Red Hat. So in this demo, we use this. Let's see. No, we are not doing the 2019. We're gonna go to the where it is here, installation guide. We do the SQL Server 2022 preview. Okay, installation on Red Hat. So we're going to use Oracle Linux as a substitute since they are all the Red Hat family. So to me, the Oracle Linux it's enterprise Linux, so can be a good substitute for the CentOS. All right, here's the brief. First, you do the get the repo key, repo file, then do the installation, do the configuration. That's it. So basically, then you install a SQL Server command tool called SQL CMD, and then here to do the connection test. Okay. So let's go back to the command window. So okay, here's my command window. On the top, it is the brief command basically copied from Microsoft documentation. So here I use the word online. That means this database server has online internet connection to the repo or whatever repo, and compared to other installation like offline installation, something like that. Okay. So let's first do the download the repo file. They basically use curl to download it from this web URL. Okay. So I'm gonna do the curl. So okay, it's downloaded. It is downloaded here in the etc yum repository D. So this is the file. If we take a look at this file, you will see what does the repo look like. It is noticeable. So here you see this is the URL packages where you download. If you manually download the same thing, and it's under the RHEL, Red Hat Enterprise Linux version 8. So basically, the package the YAM or DNF package installer is going to download from this location. All right, so we're ready to do the install. We're gonna do a sudo installation, and so I'm gonna put a timer to see how long it takes. Okay, so in general, the installation on the Linux is much easier than on Windows. Okay, it takes like a few minutes, a basic 1 minute also, compared like on Windows. On Windows, unless you prepare the response file, do the silent install. From GUI install, it's going to take, some time. Especially in the production, you have multiple disk drive. There's lots of factors to be taken into consideration compared with the Linux one. Okay. So the total have 13 packages. It's about 1.5 gig. Earlier you see here, yeah. So it should be done pretty quick. After that, we do the setup to configure this SQL Server. And after that, once this configure is completed, the SQL Server is up, so we can connect. So I'm planning to do 2 connections. One connect, a local connect, use the SQL CMD. Local means it's on the server side. Another is I'm going to use SSMS and to connect from a Windows laptop. So it's kind of remote connection, okay? So let's see, I already have SSM. Yeah, this is the SM. I'm going to connect once the server is up. All right, so completed. Let's see, 1 minute, 42 seconds. It's not bad, less than 2 minutes. All right, so let's do the configuration. So, and first, what edition? We're gonna take this developer edition. It's pick number 2. Then they ask us to see SQL Server, the SA password, okay? So give a good password. Okay. All right, it's going to configure in SQL Server. This is the evaluation version. It's about 81 days left, but it doesn't matter. So we just do it. Now the SQL Server is started. They use the systemd to start it here. Setups complete, successful SQL Server is started. So we use system control to check the status. So you can see status. You see here active running. This is the service name on the Linux. Okay, MSQL underscore or dash server. Also, you can see the process is running. Do a ps -ef grab the SQL. Okay, you will see there's 2 processes coming from here. SQL Server from this directory. Okay, that is the SQL Server engine process. So it's very simple, right? So it's basically just a single process or 2 processes from this executable. Then if you want to connect, you need to set up a firewall. So my case is already open, so I don't need to run this one. So now it's ready for me to do connection. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention the environment I'm using. So you see the host name I'm here is a short name called 08. The username is the root. Okay, so I'm using the root for conveniency. Let's confirm the release. Okay, so the OS release. You see, there is Oracle Linux version 8.6. This is the one. All right, so we done the installation. Now let's do a connection test. So first, use SQL CMD. The SQL CMD, it is a command line tool available for both on Windows and Linux. So we're going to use this for connection, okay? So I'm going to use the SQL CMD on the server side. Then user is SA. Then this is the local connection. So yeah, you see it's connected. So if you do a select from, not from, add a version, it will give us the SQL Server version. You see it's SQL Server 2022 CTP 2.0 that it was released on May 20th, 2022. It's on the developer edition 64-bit on the Linux 8.6. All right, so far so good. So let's see, select, let's use this one, SP databases. So that we should see like, before I do that, let me use so easy to read. Okay, let me use the W word. Okay, so let's do SP databases. So you see we have 5 databases. This database was it's leftover from last time. So what I'm going to do, let me drop this database. So I'm recreate it, okay? So, all right, so let's do one more time. So that database sample was, it's created, but I didn't remove it. Okay, that is what it's going to pick up from the OS directory. So here it is after a new install, you're going to have these 4 system databases. Okay, so now if you do a create database, let's see called test. Okay, so I'm going to create. Before I do that, let me go to the SSMS. I'm going to connect the database engine. So the host name is 08. I'm going to use SA, use SQL Server authentication, and a password. Let's get a password here. So because SSMS is only available for Windows, probably, well, it's still harder to port into Linux, I guess, from my Microsoft prospect. Okay, let's connect. As it's okay, it's connected. And so we can see, right click. I want to see the property. It's still thinking, I guess. Okay, it says it's SQL Service, and now it is the properties. From properties, you get the same information: SQL Server, developer, Linux, Oracle Linux 8.6, and so on and so forth. We have 3 gig memory and 4 processes. It's so far so good. Okay, so let me cancel this. Look at the database. We have 4 databases. Okay, let's create a database from the command window. So let's see, go. Let's do SP databases. We're gonna have 5 databases, okay? So let's go to here, do a refresh. Database, we have 5 databases as well. And from security log, so we only have 1 user at this moment. And the server object, replication polybase, always on. Management, from management, you can read the SQL Server log to see the startup sequence. Also, you notice there's an integration service catalog. Yeah, probably something new. You can create catalog to host for the SQL SSIS catalog. Oh, I'm not 100% sure, but I do know in 2019 it doesn't support SQL Server integration service catalogs. It maybe started supporting the 2022. Okay, we'll see. That is one thing it is noticed. For the SQL Server agent, in order to enable it, we need to do a config. So I'm not going to do here. And but one thing is about the query store. Okay, let me go to the test. Oh, I don't see the query store. I think based on the reading on the internet, the query store should be enabled in 2002 by default. Okay, look like that is probably true only for 2022 Windows, not for Linux. Okay, let's go to right-click Property, go to Query Store. Oh yeah, it is off. Let's turn it on. Let's turn to read write. Okay, okay. Now go here, refresh. Yeah, now we see we have query store. But let's go to the internet and do a quick search. I think let's see. Let me do a quick search. Okay, it's going to be SQL Server 2022. 2022 query store. Okay, query store. See what is what it says. So what is new in SQL Server 2022? Okay, so let's take a look at the section query store here. Query store. Okay, let's see what is on the query store. Query store, yeah, here. Query store improvement, okay. So let's see, query store, okay, let's read this, okay. Query store, I mean, it is from 2016, right? So let's see, this is what query store help. Yeah, query store is enabled in the Azure SQL database, and also Azure SQL managed instance and SQL 2022. Okay. However, I think that is referred to the Windows. I don't know if when they release the final release, if this is also true for the SQL Server 2022 for Linux. So that is on the internet. When you're reading the new features, it says query store, it is enabled for 2022. Okay. Yeah, here it is. CTP 2.1. Oh, it's not 2.1 yet. So we are on the C 2.0. Okay. I think once we are on the CTP 2.1, we will see the query store enabled by default for new database. Okay, so that is what a new feature was, by Microsoft enabled by default. So that is, I think Microsoft want people use query store to in the practice for performance tuning and other automatic tuning, those kind of stuff. Okay. All right. Let's go back to my command window. It should be finished now, but see, okay, everything. Yeah. So the installation is very quick, less than 2 minutes, and everything's up. It is pretty good. Okay. So just one more thing about the location. So by default, they install into this var opt MySQL. You see, there's a database folder that is all the MDF file. You see, MDF file, LDF file, log, that is the error log. So That is when you are working on the Linux platform. We know exactly where the log is, and so on and so forth. All right, it's 20 minutes. I'm gonna take a stop here.